Another question that opens itself up in this situation is, what do you do if you're Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, even Palestine, who had a really great fight against Jordan in this game, managed to walk out of that fight with all 4 players alive? What do you do? Because it feels, even after only 2 maps, as if there's clearly 2 different groups of play within this group of play, within this group A. What can they do? Do you actually end up being... Do you throw more Hail Marys? Or do you throw none at all and just hope that somehow there will be an opening that you can use? There must come a moment, and it must come early if you only have 2 days, only have 12 maps, where you have to think about what you can do. Because these are all competitors on the highest level, basically. These are all athletes that want to be on the highest level. That's probably a better analysis of the situation. And they must somehow find at least a way that can have a slight chance of them being in the top 2. And I really wonder what Turkmenistan and Tajikistan, for example, could do to make that happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was asking myself the same thing. How would I play if I was in the same scenario and I saw how the lobby has been played so far? Would I adapt to it? Would I over-adapt, maybe even, or should I just play my own game? So interesting topic, especially since, once again, this is the situation that most of these teams haven't really been in, 10-team lobby. And the same thing is going to be happening in game number 3 as well. We finally have one big change, though, and that is the UAE joining us with a full 4-man roster. So maybe now it's a little bit of a change again, but I think 9 or 10 teams, it's not really that big of a difference. Lots of people in the chat, to quickly touch on that, have been asking, what is the price pool? The price pool is tickets to the IESF World Esports Championship in November. It is going to be hosted in Riyadh. It's going to be flight tickets, hotel, everything you need for the World Esports Championship. And you can obviously represent your nation as well. And there's going to be a massive prize pool, over $100,000, way over $100,000 actually, for the PUBG Mobile Championship in Riyadh, as we said, at the end of the year. So that's what they're fighting for, and that's what these teams should be fighting for as well.
And while we let all of that sink in, this wonderful number, 40,000 USD for first, by the way, in that tournament, I cannot help myself with being a little bit astonished to see this exact situation. But all right, all of the astonishment has vanished because we luckily see UAE opting out of the fight. They are just jumping for vehicles. They are just jumping for the Crossroads compound, actually taking some shots and hitting a couple of those, I think, at Bahrain. Yes, we can see it here. Very low on HP, some of these Bahraini players, but they made it out. They made it out alive. There's not going to be a second hot drop here. And to be honest, I'm happy about that. I'm very happy about that. You shouldn't not join the first game, then hot drop the second one and lose the hot drop, and then hot drop again, because then basically you can just stop playing the tournament. You can just stop competing because there's no chance. If you have 0 points after 3 maps, even back-to-back wins will not put you into the top 2.
Yeah. And that's the story of Uzbekistan that we have right here. The team that, unfortunately, needed these 2 chances to have a really, really good shot at the very top. Tajikistan, one of the teams that surprised me the most so far. Positively surprised me. As much as Mongolia did in that first game, so did they in terms of winning a game. In terms of chances of winning a game, I should say. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it work. I'm hoping we're going to see them with another chance today, because I feel like from what I've seen so far, I might have underestimated them. They took great positions. They rotated very cleanly as well. And I feel like that was one of the first teams that really understood how important it is to keep all 4 players alive.
Looking into the chat, we seem to also have quite a lot of fans of Mongolia, which obviously makes total sense. Some even questioning whether Mongolia shouldn't have been directly invited to the final of this tournament, given the strength of their lineup and the success of their lineup, which is fair. Saw a couple of Mongolia is cooking in the chat, and I assume whatever their national dish may be, it tastes even better right now. So yeah, keep it up, everyone in the chat. And if you're a Mongolia fan, right now is a very, very good time to join our broadcast. I would say if they continue on the trajectory that they are on right now, but I have a feeling that they will be. Palestine and Uzbekistan meeting briefly here with a very, very quick drive-by that ends with 0 casualties. Uzbekistan actually super fast split this time. They are playing such a different style this time. 2 players in school, 1 even on the eastern side of the apartments, and 1 basically towards that big central hill on ERANGEL. So here, that would be the 1. Such a big split. They changed their playstyle a lot compared to the last 2 games.
Yeah. I'm not so sure if that is just something that we see because of the change in the zone, or if it's actually like a wanted a direct change. We'll have to wait and see for the remaining games. Uzbekistan trying to find any kind of opening towards the Palestine players. At this point, it's become quite obvious that they are looking for it. So they've positioned themselves towards the western and towards the southern side of the apartment. But Timon is there, and he is aware of it. Pops out the shots, makes his presence known, and so far, no real danger. Just has to be careful on the very top of the hill. There is Tapok. If he finds him, oh my goodness, there is no way. Actually, Uzbekistan is being pulled up on Palestine. They're surprising me time and time again. They're doing to Uzbekistan what they've done to Kazakhstan in the last game. And that is a perfect pull at Vazim. Unfortunately, he gets taken down, but he marks the team. You can see his crosshair repositioning there. As Tapok does have a little bit more time to wait for his teammates, but Dream is rotating on in, and he's got no shotgun, unfortunately. He's only got that car. The Scar pre-fire comes on through, and he takes him down. But Uzbekistan is immediately there with the support. And where's the rest of the teammates? He pocks up the shotgun, and he takes him down. Oh my goodness, Palestine! What have you just done with them? He will be traded, but that was one hell of a knock.
I love the fight, but I hate the fact that Palestine have basically repeated the exact same mistake of the recent ERANGEL game. Why on earth are you sending one player straight into the fight and the rest just trickles in one by one, and they can crouch around on the ground all the time they want right now, because they have definitely lost 2, if not 3 players in this situation. Going for the rest here to at least get one of them back on his feet, but the execution was just not good enough. They can still win the fight, and they actually do end up winning the fight. All right. They saved themselves in the end a little bit, but all of this, seeing that there's an isolated Uzbekistan player attacking him, super smart, 200 IQ moment. But why are you sending one alone? Why are you not sending both of them straight into the enemy? He would have had 0 chance. Did not love the execution, love the idea, and I'm happy that it ended up good for them, but just barely ended up good for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Palestine is going to look back at this, and 100% they're going to go through these games after those group days finished, and they will know, hey, well, it depends on how, honestly, it depends on how the rest of this game goes, but they will know, hey, we could have done more if we wouldn't have lost that player. And that was completely avoidable.
And it was
so,
also...
despite these great shots. No, go ahead.
They only won that because of this second knock, right? If that player goes down right away, it's a lost fight for Palestine. So basically a free elimination point in the beginning of the game. There's no other way of saying it. A free elimination point in the beginning of the game ended up almost costing them the game. And it's very easy to now say, well, they won the fight, it was a great play, but it definitely wasn't. This was so short from super big disaster, and it ended up being huge disaster for Uzbekistan, by the way. So because now they not only didn't win 2 games, they were eliminated early on.
Next gets the 4th frag against the UAE. It is a complete squad wipe. Give it up for Nex in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Bahrain has once again cleared out the Emirates. And unfortunately for them, it is going to be another game with absolutely 0 points. At this point, they might just need a small miracle, because I'm not sure how you're going to come back. I don't know, 3 out of 12? Is it too late? I'm going to pop that question to you. Is it too late already? 3 rounds with 0 points?
I would say, from an analysis perspective, I would say yes. Are they ever allowed to adapt that opinion of mine? I would say no. If you want to be an athlete in the realm of PUBG Mobile Esports, you can never stop playing until it's the very last map. I mean, that's not technically true. In PUBG Mobile Esports, there are situations, if you're down by 60 points and you have one more map to play, you can give up, obviously. But if you have 9 more maps to play, you can always hope that you will somehow manage to win the next 3 and actually end the day on a very positive note to fight again in 2 days for the actual spots. But from an analysis perspective, I would say yes, it's too late. No chance. Top 2 with 0 points after 3 maps? No way.
Yeah, also, I only have very limited information towards the roster from the UAE, so I couldn't even tell you how experienced these guys are and how often they've been in the exact same scenario, because it's always the same kind of thing. If you're down very early on in a tournament, what you need is belief. Believe in yourself. And if you've done it already once, and we saw the time and time again with lots of rosters, the old Na'Vi rosters being, or like now GG roster being a prime example of it. If you have the strict belief in yourself that you can still come back because you've done it before, if there's not a single doubt in your mind, that's when you will actually perform. So,
I mean, every single time I casted those guys, they started up with like a 22 elimination chicken dinner. So I can't really speak to them playing from behind. But yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. Obviously,
well, in the globals they did have plenty of scenarios where you know they just start off that strong and maybe even didn't finish that well, but they got very close to it.
I just remember the 2 of us casting them twice, and they both times started out with like 30 points.
The European Championship was just farming for them.
Was incredible. But let's return back to this game because we have another fight brewing up. It's once again Kazakhstan driving straight into a situation that they did not anticipate. Lebanon is camping their rotation, and Kazakhstan is willingly taking the fight. Puncher with a first perfectly spot-on grenade takes out the first knock against Lebanon. Straight away flushed with the second nade. Nade elimination here secured for Puncher. And Kazakhstan, they smell blood and they want more. Gringo, he's gonna have to play this position perfectly because he has the last really good angle for his team. But, well, he is deciding to be the last one out. He's the last one surviving, and he's gonna not continue the fight, at least for now.
No. Not a chance. Won't even be able to help his teammates. And honestly, at this point, I kind of want him to make a move on that knock, but it's already too late now. So he's gonna have to wait and see if he finds any opportunity elsewhere. I don't even think he has a car at this point, and he sure as hell can't enter it with the rest of the players being that close to him anyways, but yeah, I'm not sure. I always feel like in this scenario with only 8 teams remaining, the chances of you really making something as a solo are probably less than you trying to engage in it. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to wait and see how it's gonna turn out for them, but I would have loved for him to see him try something.
I love what you just said. I love what you just said. I want to make sure that this cast does not become too analytical, but I fully agree. I think the chance of him actually turning that fight into at least 1 elimination point, if not 2, is infinitely higher than him getting somehow into like 4th position to get some placement point. I don't think that's ever really going to happen in this scenario, and we've seen that in the first couple of maps. And I agree, given that this is a scenario where he exactly knows where the knock is positioned, he should rather proactively play for the flush and a potential second kill than running away. But, well, let's jump back into the live action as Palestine and Jordan once again meet in a huge city, but it's not Yasnaya, it's Pochinki this time around.
Always a really strong spot on top of the church. Lots of information that you can gather. And lots of positions that you can deny as well. You can see how open Clever can play just based off of the position of his teammates. No one can really shoot at him. And they're very deep in the center as well. So that's what I really like what they're doing. Jordan in a great position to make something happen. We see these circles tend to shift around church as well. So most of the times you don't even need cars anymore from phase 3 onwards. because most of the times you will be able to walk the rest of the distances that we have from phase 3 onwards. Let's see. Kazakhstan, though, in the meanwhile, clearing out another edge. It is going to be the 4th frag for them. And there we have it. That's the last play from Lebanon. That's the fight they started, and they will finish it off as well.
And here you go. 0 additional points. Only got that 1 point that they get for being eliminated in 8th place. So once again, would have loved some more proactivity there. Also, even though that is an entirely strategical point right now, I once again love the approach of Mongolia. We haven't seen them at all in this game, but they are all the way in the western side of the map. They approach the circle from the side where you can scout the most individual spots and thereby know that you're not going to run into any trappy situations. And given how well their methodically aggressive playstyle has worked for them so far, I see a really good game coming up again. Simply by their position and the opportunities that their position is going to create in stage 4 of this 3rd map.
Yeah, that might be good analysis. I'm not so sure if the same could be said about Bahrain. I feel like they've got a little bit of a tougher entry, but then again, if they do decide to fight early again, there is options for it. They've got a team right in front of them, that is Palestine on the edge of it, and they've lost a player as well. Especially since they've already gotten the compound just north of Pochinki for absolute free. And look at the space they have.
Yes,
even
look
on
at
the
the
north
space.
side, almost everything is clear.
Look at the space in general. Look at this is a picture-perfect example of what this lobby looks like, even on the leaderboard. The 3 really strong teams, all playing a wide split, lots of individual spots from where you can scout and execute really well. Bahrain, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia, all 3 have map control for days. Bahrain sadly a bit punished with this circle shift. By the way, once again, it also happened to them in game number 2. While Mongolia and Kazakhstan have perfect spots to play from. But still, you can see, as we mentioned, you can see the strength of the individual teams. Even if you would take all of the logos and colors of the teams away, you could still understand which teams really know what they are doing here.
Yeah. 100%. Great observation. And it's going to be reflected in the total leaderboard situation as well. On how valuable these splits are. Let's see how Palestine is going to work their way out of it. Next phase is going to be a tough one for them. They will have to move out of these buildings, most likely. And there's a deep east shift is coming on through. And then navigating through these buildings can be a problem, especially since Jordan on the other side will be relatively ready for them. These 2 flags, by the way, are absolutely... This is like the worst nightmare for a caster. If we wouldn't know the player names and their respective countries, I would have no idea.
You mentioned it. Adding UAE into the mix would be the worst case scenario. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that all of our viewers who come from those countries are very easily able to distinguish these colors and these flags from each other. So, but we want to ask you for some kindness with us if we end up messing it up. I don't think we have so far. Also, one nice little thing to say is that Jordan actually has a really good chance for revenge here, as Palestine is now in the much worse position. They were in a really good spot last game in Yasnaya, but this time actually Palestine has to play into Jordan, and you just mentioned that is a really tough thing to do within a city such as Pochinki. But we have to move over to Bahrain, who are defending against Turkmenistan at the moment, destroying the vehicle first, getting a knock in the process. I don't see many good things for Chappie here.
No. Neos is still looking for another frag. He's almost found Chappie. Turkmenistan has had huge problems in finding any kind of opening in these rounds, any kind of space, and they haven't really made themselves space either. They've been relatively passive, relatively grouped up on top of each other, and if you meet a team like Mongolia or Bahrain on your edge, then that is going to be abused if you don't take space. That is going to be heavily abused. And you can see right here, Chappie goes down as well. That's another team eliminated, and it's going to be Turkmenistan in 7th place. And that leaves 6 teams left alive, 6 countries, 6 nations fighting for some more points to potentially qualify for the WC at the end of the year.
You almost have to feel for Bahrain in this situation. They are being hot dropped, or at least sort of hot dropped once again. Win that hot drop clean. Then they have to rotate, set up a huge map presence, hard shift away from them. Set up a second huge map presence, hard shift away from them. Then they take out Turkmenistan, and they are still not in a good position in the next circle. They still have to proactively find another space, while Mongolia and Kazakhstan have a little bit of an easier game this time if you compare it to the first two. But well, that's what you have to play through. That's what you have to succumb to actually be able to make it into the top two here. But this is going to be another really tough challenge for Bahrain now. This next 3 to 4 minute period of the game, I'm surprised. Or no, not surprised. I'm interested in what they are going to end up choosing. They might go for that big hall in that one compound on the northern side that is still free, but that can also be a death trap. So it's going to be interesting to see where they end up, because they have to do something now.
Yeah, they do. I'm interested to see if Bahrain is going to engage on Jordan. That would be the perfect opportunity for Palestine to make something happen. Look at the split length on the most experienced players in this roster, and even in this derby in general. Is standing back in the distance. That is dangerous. Clever might just be taken down. He's already getting shot in the back. Somehow makes it down the hillside. Oh, Dream, that would have been perfect for you. That would have been a massive opening for Palestine. Question is, do they know Lath is there? I don't think so at the moment. Honestly, I as a player wouldn't expect him to be there either. So if Lath plays too smart, he single-handedly could take out Palestine from making any progress in this derby.
We just saw projectiles flying in from very far away. I think that is Kazakhstan actually taking a couple of shots into these fights that are happening in and around Pochinki. And yes, Bahrain actually executed just in the way you expected them to. The last couple of players are going to come in at this moment, and Mongolia, they're actually immediately, just seconds after noticing, opening up several angles, and that's going to be once again so tough. Look at the positioning of Bahrain. They are dead on the edge of the circle. If that next zone does not go their way, I have no idea how they're going to play their way out of it.
Yeah, I don't know either, to be honest. It's going to be really tough. They might just try and find an isolated fight at the warehouse, but other than that, it's man, it's a tough edge, 100%. I think late at this point has been spotted out, and that means Palestine can't really cross any further, and I think they know it at this point as well. But at least Dream has still got one more spot to potentially shoot the Jordan players at, from especially when they rotate down the hillside. Are they going to make it? No, not so far. So it looks like Jordan has made it inside that building. That was the one chance that I gave Palestine of making something happen in this round. Sure, they might survive another team, depending on that northwestern edge and who's going to fight and when they're going to fight, but I think it's going to be happening right now. But other than that, yeah, I don't know how they're going to cross this. I feel like there's no way of crossing towards that compound or towards that building right in front of them without being completely annihilated.
That fifth circle will make all of that even worse, by the way. Not for Bahrain at this moment. They might actually be just in, but I don't know. I don't actually think so. Those smokes indicate that they want to make a move. Yeah, they think that they are not in well enough. They are throwing smokes, indicating that they are making a move. That nade might be disastrous, but it's not. Ends up knocking 0 players from Bahrain, but they want to fight this. They want to move into the next buildings that will be free in the zone. But still, that circle was not only bad for Bahrain, it was bad for pretty much everyone, because there's no free real estate at all. There's not a single building, only open country, open land to be seen. And now we're jumping straight into the fight between Tajikistan and Bahrain.
Oh, yeah, so look at this. Tajikistan with immediately 2 knocks. And that is disastrous for them. They've lost the first building almost entirely. There was one nade going the way of Tajikistan, but as I say that, it's only a knock. I think it's only a knock and not a flash. Bahrain still has got the massive man's advantage. Golden now knows he has to clear out this fight. They want to make something off of this knock. And it is a 3v2 at the moment. First knock goes that way. Second one potentially as well. No, it's only hard, I believe. And Neos somehow still gets that initial knock, despite being shot from both sides. And Bahrain, they will survive, and this is perfect. This is good for Mongolia as well. They used the space this fight created to move downwards from this here.
But given their tendency to basically attack everything in the first 2 games, I'm almost surprised that they are not trying to actually breach this compound, that they're actually trying to benefit from these
100%.
many knocks that are in there right now. Maybe they didn't really notice.
I thought they would.
Yeah, and maybe they actually are already in a position where they can't start driving again because they are too scared of getting knocked. I'm also not sure if they haven't lost any players in the process. We will only know when we see a bit of a bigger perspective on the map. They have 2 right now that we can see. I think they lost players. I think that's why.
They must have. Jordan now in the most centralized position. Mongolia, as you said, very surprisingly not opting to go for that breach. I think they were too preoccupied with moving down the hillside and somehow surviving. And at that point, it was already too late to commit to any other call than just rotating down the hillside. I think that's kind of the main problem they had. Still not out of it, though. You can never count Mongolia out of any round as long as they have a player standing. That's the one thing that we've learned so far. And in with these 2 players, they will be very close to the next zone. Somehow, Palestine in this circle still inside. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They will survive for another zone.
This is one of those situations where I would like to see the full confrontation between Palestine and Jordan. Just very briefly, very quickly, because I think Jordan must have done something wrong, right? Because they had such a commanding hold. They had all of the good buildings, and Palestine still managed to somehow move past them. But I still think, no, actually we can see it now. Jordan decided to use that one last really nice building that actually has a flat top where you can fight from. And I think that's probably the right decision. They just postponed the fight against Palestine and told them, well, you can have those bad buildings. We just want the good one. And so that's a fight that's going to take place in the next couple of minutes as well.
Yeah. I think there was a problem with them being potentially contested by Bahrain on that eastern side, or on rather northeastern, maybe even northwestern side, as Bahrain kind of crept up on them. But and as soon as they saw Jordan playing on top of the church and, you know, them being pretty much in control of it, I think Bahrain opted to go for that deep western rotation that we see right now. So I think that was what kind of made trouble for Jordan. Rotate comes in now. Bahrain moves across the open field, somehow trying to get themselves any kind of position they can find. For now, it's not really too deep, and it's not really too secure either. Mongolia probably has sights on them in just a couple of moments. But why they shoot towards the southern side of this Palestine?
Potential to make double knock. Both nades end up dealing exactly 0 damage, though. I thought this was going to end in a very drastically different way, but didn't. Jordan still with a commanding position in this fight, and everybody now notices that it's not really great to be in a zone where one team has the high ground, where you basically cannot be knocked and flushed, and everybody else has to leave their positions. Nades flying around everywhere. Mongolia actually doing a pretty decent job considering that they were in a 2v4, now in a 1v4 situation against Bahrain. Alex still alive though, and still able to potentially catch some additional points. And I have no idea, by the way, what Palestine is going to do when they have to leave this position. Well, they are doing it right now.
Oh, they already tried. I thought they gave up on all the utility that they had on that initial try when Jordan shot at the players from Bahrain rotating in, but everyone's got so much utility. I don't even know how big are their pockets. Nate still raining back and forth. There's another one going in, and it's Klavak being taken down, but Timon as well. And it's a quick 1-1 trade. Ragnarok finds another player closing the distance, and it's only one player left alive. I think it's Dream just behind the tree against 3 angry players from Bahrain, and he will be cleared out. Excuse me, not Bahrain, Jordan, as he is being taken out. In the meanwhile, you see Mongolia finally not winning a game, to be honest, finally for everyone else in this lobby. Out in 4th place, Palestine out in 3rd place. They will secure another placement point because of this, as you have a 3-on-4.
And once again, we see how important it is to quickly get rid of trouble in the later stages of the game. If Jordan had not eliminated Palestine so quickly in this round, they would have had a huge problem with Bahraini players already basically firing at their direction the entire time. Now they have time. Now they have room to actually decide how they want to play this final fight, this final confrontation against Bahrain, who are playing in the open field. Another nade. How do they still have nades? And that one
completely
was
absurd.
Not too great. couple of damage points on Neos, but by far not enough to get a knock. And that should have been the last damage utility they have. They are trying to play around their smokes. No, they have another one.
What?
They have another one and 2 Molotovs, actually. All right, Bahrain has a problem.
Wow. Yeah, Bahrain does have a problem, but on the other side, so does Jordan, honestly. The zone heavily favors Bahrain, and to be reminded, it is at 3-on-3 at the moment. Ragnarok has been taken down. He tried to make a move towards the west-end side. Didn't work out. And so Bahrain... Did he just get out by the Molotov?
Yes, he threw it perfectly.
Wow, I thought the Molotov wasn't going to be good enough.
He actually made it to the rest position, so they will be 4 up very soon again. It's going to be a 4v2 situation. The flush actually came through with the same Molotov, so Neos is taking... They have another nade! And that's perfect! What? And it's perfect! Just one more player. Jordan, that is so well executed.
That is absolutely nasty, and look at this, Jordan, with a performance of a lifetime, will secure the win, and they just wipe the map with Bahrain. What a map, ladies and gentlemen. Mongolia for the first time not securing the chicken dinner. Instead, a very well executed win from Jordan, who just can't seem to run out of utility.
And that's what happens when you have the best building in the end of the game in an otherwise extremely open circle. We spoke about it, that these top-heavy games and also this top-heavy format drastically needs you to play these 20-point or even more point games. And Jordan is the first team to accomplish that. 10 eliminations. 8 out of those, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game, which is obviously what's going to happen in such a situation. And they will catapult. They will just rise to the top of the leaderboard. Not all the way, but much higher than we thought. Or at least I thought they would be after this game number 3.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I wouldn't have expected them to come out swinging like this in a match 3. Then again, I'm not sure if I should overestimate this performance. Because honestly, they did get the circle quite well.
Yeah, it played its stress a little bit.
Yeah, it played a big role. Like we can't just leave that out of the analysis. But let's go back and take a look at the highlights, because it all started with Palestine, who, by the way, made it into late game after this initial fight against Uzbekistan. Somehow wins this, despite them losing the initial knock, despite them, you said it, even in the middle of the game, despite them not really playing well together, honestly. Peeking one by one, taking fights one by one, and not really trading off of each other. They still win it, and then make their way into Pochinki to still get placement points and more eliminations in this game. So hats off to Palestine, making the best out of this.
I just quickly Google translated, I am really sorry for being so mean to the Uzbekistani language, and after seeing what it reads, I chose not to say it, but I'm still gonna say I'm really sorry for punching down on the team a little bit. But once again, that beginning of the game was just not it. This team had so many good opportunities, and we saw it again in the replay there. Also, I'm gonna say it as well, Palestine, not great how they played it, but the fact that they got they must have gotten third, right? Mongolia was eliminated just a second earlier. Getting third after that beginning is so good. They played it so well, but still, I feel for some of these teams so much.
Yeah, you can see it was like a second. Mongolia literally done, maybe even half a second. Mongolia literally got taken out maybe half a second before they did. So hats off to Palestine. Man, I thought it was going to shift out of the city earlier. If that would have happened, it would have gone a little bit more south. I want to say Mongolia would have had a great chance again. Let's not kid ourselves here. That wasn't a bad game from Mongolia, despite everything going on. The one thing I do want to touch on, though, that was surprising, and you immediately realized it, Gideon. They didn't breach that building when the initial fight with Bahrain happened. And I thought that was so weird, because Bahrain breaching it was 3 knocks there, 3 knocks here at one point in time. And Mongolia, at the same time, decided to rotate on down. They could have just adapted on that call and driven further, but I feel like they just didn't want to change that call. They thought it was going to go deeper south, and maybe that's why they didn't opt to go for that breach. But in hindsight, maybe it would have been the better call.
Yeah, we're missing a couple of information pieces here. I'm also not sure how much the last bits of the fight against Kazakhstan made an impact on that decision, but I fully agree it would have been so so in sync with their recent play style to actually breach into that compound and to say, well, we either get fifth or we win it again, basically.
Yes.
And they didn't. We also didn't see how they lost their 2 players. Maybe that played a role. But yes, I was surprised as well. And I'm also going to say it. If that circle goes just a tad more southern, a bit earlier, Jordan has a basically 4-fold, 5-fold harder game in their hands.
Yes.
This one played itself a little bit, but still their defense against Palestine was amazing. And those nades in the late game and that Molotov, awesome.
Where did they come from?
Yeah.
Where the hell did all these nades come from? I think they were able to loot some of these Palestine's bodies, but even Palestine shouldn't even have had any nades anymore to begin with, right? That fight started maybe 30, 40 seconds before they actually got eliminated, because they originally tried to push. There was a knock here, there was a knock there. They kind of slowed things down. Then they threw all of their nades, and they still had like 10, maybe 12 nades left in that entire rest of the game. So yeah, I'm not sure. Jordan maybe had some good instincts when the original looting phase happened, because that's also a management question, right?
Yeah.
How many nades do I actually pick up in the first place? How sure am I that it's gonna finish somewhere around here where I don't necessarily need all the ammunition, where I don't necessarily need all the health stuff that I have, because I have a pretty good positions in the first place. So you kind of just, it's a trade that you have to some degree agree on. So yeah, good forward thinking coming in from Jordan. That's not a coincidence, I think.
That's actually another really good point that we haven't spoken about yet. If you only have 10 teams in the lobby, how far do you go with reducing the amount of ammunition compared to your usual loadout that you take with you? Do you just take 50 bullets less and just a lot more nades? That makes total sense. That makes total sense, actually, for me. And especially if you find yourself still in Pochinki in the 3rd or 4th zone, which is a huge city that still has some loot opportunities even late into the game, you might actually decide to change your loot pattern a little bit again. But let's have a look at Neos, who so deserves this MVP title, even though they didn't end up winning it, with his 6 eliminations. I think almost all of the eliminations in the first fight against UAE were done by him. And that was so important, because that gave them the opportunity to rotate quickly, even though they had an early fight. And that made them able to create this huge hold on the map, which didn't give them the biggest benefit, considering that all of the shifts went away, but it still showed how good of a team they are.
Yeah, 100%. Not surprising to me either that Neos was the MVP, especially since that second fight as well that they had when they crossed over from the warehouse. He was the last player standing. That's where it could have all fallen apart. It was a 2v3, and he was the last player standing with all 3 players knocked after that fight had ended. He got the last frag, and he got all his teammates back up. Without them, they wouldn't even have gotten the second place to begin with. So, massive stuff coming out from Neos. I think even the very first game, and excuse me, not the very first one, but the second game, he's had the majority of the frags already. So Neos might just be the player to watch for Bahrain at the moment.
I also love how this game once again proved me wrong so much. It happens the entire time. I just went to, well, it's going to be Kazakhstan, and then it's going to be Mongolia, and immediately Bahrain go for a huge match.
That is true. I did ask you that question.
Match. And yeah, well, maybe they are listening in between the breaks, and they went like, all right, that guy from Germany, we don't like him. We're just gonna create a lot of mayhem right now on the battlegrounds of ERANGEL. Love that we have another one of those maps. I love that we have 3. I just still love that map. I think I'll always love it. If I'm 50 one day, I'm just still gonna play ERANGEL rounds and enjoy it.
It's the longevity of the map is something that we see very rarely in battle royale games, right?
Yeah.
Even looking at other titles, you can tell they try to change stuff very often. And sure, ERANGEL had its changes as well, but the core concept of the map really hasn't changed ever. And look how long the time has gone from when a change was needed was incredibly long. Even in an esports sense, in a casual sense, I didn't think there was anything too wrong to begin with. We could probably still play the original map. So yeah, absolutely crazy. ERANGEL still at the very top of the esports maps in my opinion. Once again, we have 2 more maps coming up. After that, we have Miramar twice to finish off the day. There's 6 matches in total. So 3 times ERANGEL, 2 times Miramar and 1 time Sandhawk. So Sandhawk does it for today. Let's take a look at the head-to-head statistics for that match 3. It is Jordan against Bahrain, the last 2 teams standing, and Bahrain still had 11 eliminations in this one. That is surprising to me. I thought that it would be a little bit less with how much Neos was able to gather on his lonesome, but yeah, they still got 11 eliminations. That's going to put them in a very good spot for contention at the top of the leaderboard.
I wonder who that last player was. So they got their first 4 against UAE. They got the next 4 against Tajikistan in that compound fight. And then they eliminated the 2 remaining Mongolian players. I have no idea. Maybe they even got a 3rd Mongolian player, but yes, that would then bring them up to 11. That means that this was also a very, very important match for them. I'm so interested to see how the situation will shift on the overall leaderboard after this game. How far up will Jordan be? Will Bahrain already surpass Kazakhstan, or will they still be below them? Because there was quite a gap between those 2 teams. And how will it all change when we go into the next map anyway? So no situation is going to stay the same after this game, other than Mongolia still being in first place. That's definitely going to be the case because they got a couple of points once again with their 4th place here, still staying strong. And as you mentioned, we're going to head into another round of ERANGEL very, very soon. But first, let's have a look at the 2 top performers, which are Miracle from Jordan and Neos, who got the MVP title in the end. Pretty linear, right? 3 eliminations, half of the damage. 2 times the assists, though. And they both survived almost the exact same time.
Yeah. Still, for me in this game, I think for everyone else, even if you're not a fan of Bahrain, even if they eliminated your favorite team in this instance, you gotta give it up for Neos. Not only the entire fight against UAE, we said it before, but also the entire fight in their warehouse fight where they could have been thrown out of the game. Immediately. That was all down to Neos. He was the last player standing in both instances. He picked up the majority of the frags in both of these situations, but Bahrain was in actual danger of being eliminated in match number 3. So yeah, hats off to him. 600 damage for 6 kills. That is also a pretty good statistic. Nothing really stolen in that instance. And yeah, kind of confirms what we've been seeing so far.
I want to pinpoint one specific of these little data blocks that we see on our screen right now, which is smokes and nades, because no map of the day today has shown us perfect utility usage as this 3rd map has. Obviously, talking about nades and molotovs here, the end of the game was perfectly executed with 2 or 3 nades and a couple of molotovs by Jordan. But that smoke wall, though, that smoke wall that Bahrain utilized against Tajikistan in that compound fight, that was just perfectly executed. There was no little centimeter that they could have been spotted on. So they made it all the way into that garage building where they were easily able to win the fight.
Yeah, also, I gotta say, gotta go back to Uzbekistan really quick. I gotta say, I know we set it up for the first 2 games already. When are they gonna take the chance? I feel like despite them being taken out very early here, the fight that we've seen, they had such good chances, and I feel like at some point it's gotta break. We are 3 games in now. We are, almost we're past the halftime of the first day actually, and we still haven't seen them take initiative. And that's the same for all of these teams in the middle of the pack. If that continues to happen, I am in fear that we're going to have 3 or 4 contenders that are going to run away with this after day 1.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about staying in your comfort zone too long, basically. And that is a trap that many of these teams in PUBG Mobile Esport fall into every now and then, where simply if you get too many good circles and you're never actually pressured into playing proactively, the moment when you have to comes and it just walks right by you and you don't take the initiative, and then it bites you in the end. And that's what happened to them twice here. And in the game where they finally wanted to take the initiative, they simply lost the fight. They lost it very closely. They only lost it because they suffered 2 knocks against a player that actually should have been an easy knock himself. And so they just lost it in the last 1v1 of the fight. I really want to, and I'm honestly saying this from the bottom of my heart here, I really want to see an Uzbekistan win today. I really want them getting that chicken dinner. I really want to see them succeeding and proving me wrong, proving you wrong, so that we can really hype them up.
Let's take a look at the daily schedule for today. We have 6 matches in total. Once again, we've seen the first 2 ERANGEL already, and it is going to continue with ERANGEL again, and they're going to be finished off with 2 times Miramar. So do stay tuned. Once again, we are in Group A of the 2 groups that we have. 10 teams in this one, with the top 2 heading to Riyadh.
I'm just going to say it. I'm hyped for that next game. I loved how the gameplay changed from ERANGEL game number 1 to ERANGEL game number 2, which were game 2 and game 3. You could clearly see that the teams adapted slightly, that their playstyle adapted, the loot spots adapted, the speed in which they rotated adapted, and also a couple of traps being set up here and there. And I think that's just going to get even better in the next game. I'm also going to say another thing here. I'm really surprised at how well it works having 10 teams in the lobby. I thought the early game would be so much slower for like 8, 9, 10 minutes, and then we would just have a domino day of team fights, simply just third party after third party after third party. But that's not the case. Teams are still playing pretty much close to how they play in a full lobby, and that's surprising. I'm still not sure if it's the best approach, but it's still surprising and very nice to watch.
Oh, we have seen the first 3 games now. I don't want to get back to predictions, because I know we've done it so much. But it feels like Mongolia is in a position right now that is just different to everyone else, and I gotta touch on this. The way they've rotated in the first 3-4 phases, and if you take a look at these games that we've seen so far, I feel like they're the only team actively not engaging in any single possible situation where they could lose a player. They're in this one as well. They very actively rotated away from their western side, despite them knowing that Bahrain and all the other teams coming in from the northern side might rotate their way. They didn't make any kind of action towards closing down their rotation path. And I think if they continue to do this and still play great late game, I think they're not going to be contested. I think that's the one thing that we haven't seen from any of the top teams so far. Bahrain is open to getting these fights. I know we said it didn't look like it after the first initial game, but I feel like now they are. Kazakhstan, same goes for them. I feel like even more so than Bahrain. They want to fight. They want to fight in the first 3 phases, but it also brings the risks, obviously, that are involved with this. So yeah, all of these top teams, to me, kind of indifferent to Mongolia at the moment. And I gotta say this: if they continue playing this way and all the other teams will not adapt, I don't see a way for them to drop out of this, just based off of these 3 games.
Exactly. The way that the Mongolians were able to play the full Scots in Braveheart mode, simply throwing themselves into every single confrontation they could find, but always doing it in a smart way, always having the upper hand, always until maybe that last map where they didn't win in the end, but still they fought so many situations, and they open up right when they get an opening, and they close down their team and bring themselves closer together again when they don't have an opening anymore. You could see that when Bahrain actually breached Tajikistan. They were right on that ridge 5 seconds later, trying to get some pop shots at them. That was so perfectly executed. I fully agree. Also, don't want to get into any further suggestions how this whole thing might end up, because I just said Kazakhstan and then Bahrain got 17 points as